Evil, evil, evil.
It's like, yes, we totally messed it up. We're gonna do it better next time. But we are live. Next episode. So what's up, everybody? This is Katrina from In Cat We Trust, and like a whole bunch of other things that I do. I will not list that, but I am joined by the absolutely fabulous Captain Shay. So how are you this Thursday?
I'm doing good, enjoying my off day. Like always, I feel like I say this every time, but I do be enjoying my off day. Like I swear. That's it. Like
So, for if you are just hopping on for the first time, we are discussing WWE's documentary series Evil, and we are now on episode 4, which is the episode The Brothers of Destruction, featuring The Undertaker and Kane. So, what are your first thoughts about this episode?
they lost the plot with this episode. They really did. They lost the plot because when I first saw the commercial about the show Evil, they specifically said it's people talking about their heel moments in time. Not this was basically just like a bedtime story about the Undertaker, mostly the Undertaker, because Kane just like it was basically featuring Kane, literally. Like it was so much just the Undertaker. It wasn't about him being heel. It was just about telling the story of his character. Like it had nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I mean, I guess you can't win them all with the episodes. I guess in a documentary series, you're gonna have these episodes that you're like. I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to agree. I feel like in this regard, it definitely was a lot of Undertaker, and I guess it was fitting because I did see that clip of earlier with Teddy Long, where like every match he gave on SmackDown was you're gonna go 1-on-1 with the Undertaker, and so I guess it was fitting that I saw that clip earlier today, especially with we're gonna do the episode. But yeah, I don't know if I would call it necessarily. I mean, clearly both of them were heels at different times. Like that was obvious. Even when they were feuding, one was a heel, one wasn't a heel. But I don't know if this necessarily like implied with regards to them turning up the gimmick that you're like, okay, this was needed for you to be this aspect in your career. I feel like, when you get to like, well, I guess when we get there, like how Roman Reigns had to change. Well, even though he had to change something for us as the audience, for the audience to be like, all right. Well, not for me because I'm biased and he was for me. I loved him all through it all. But I mean, like for people who wasn't interested before and now they are, he had to do something to kind of turn that gimmick up. Sasha had to do something to kind of turn it up. And so I'm going to have to agree with that regards with, I don't know if this was necessarily the same thing. It's very odd, I guess, in that regards, but they start off with, I guess, the Undertaker, how he was when he first got there, when he was wearing those purple gloves and looking a hot mess. Because I don't know what WWE was doing at that time, as far as like clearly by the time we got to the Attitude Era, they clearly did some changing around some pieces, but like a lot of like the costumes for a lot of the wrestlers back then was really like, this is the best you guys have. I mean, I know it's like the 80s, but or like early 90s, but
The purple makeup under the eye. I'm like,
but is this what you really have? So his costume was already questionable for me as a wrestling fan. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was a big Undertaker fan because I am not. I feel like I was sorry. Let's turn that ring off. Turn that ring off. I felt like I was always more of a Kane fan because Kane had like, he didn't really say too much. He was just like this big guy, like kind of had like, he had the mask on. He didn't say anything. He was really imposing. And so I'm like, if you think of like a horror movie, which person is gonna, not that I'm afraid of horror movies because I'm the weirdo who watch horror movies on a regular basis, but if logically, if you see somebody, like who's going to make you more scary? Is the Undertaker going to make you feel more afraid, or Kane is going to make you feel more afraid? And I feel like Kane was more of a, like, okay, if you're somebody who gets scared easily, he will fit that like you know, like you could be killing somebody. Like Undertaker was like, okay, you're wearing a hat and a coat. I mean, I guess. Um, if that makes you if that makes you scary, I mean, I guess. But they talk about, I guess, when they started doing the outline for how he was supposed to become what we know him now, with the 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 extra with the theme song and this big ass hat and the coat. And so, how would, I guess, your thoughts about them kind of moving into, all right, the Undertaker that's more towards the end, like, you know, mid 90s or like late 90s on till before he became Biker Taker.
I mean, I got it. Like, what I will say, while I wasn't really with the, like, you know, them telling a bedtime story is basically what this was. I will say Undertaker is definitely one of the best created characters in wrestling, you know, history.
Yeah.
Like, just like the pure time that they took, you know, just like the sketches, seeing everything, it, and just seeing how he affected the crowd without saying much. And when he said that he was influenced by, you know, Michael Myers and Jason, I was like, yeah, I see that, because they don't have to say much, and the Undertaker doesn't have to say much, which, you know, yeah. So I definitely, I liked, you know, his build, but ooh, Big Evil has a special place in my heart. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I did again, like, see, even though he said that he was inspired by like horror movie serial killers, I felt even more so like Kane fit that more, you know? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I just clicked that off super quick. Thank you so much, David, for hopping in. You know, I'm not sure which channel you're actually on because there's actually should be streaming on two different YouTube channels, so I'm not even sure which one you got that from. But whichever one, you know, it'd be great. Just subscribe to them both. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so what he said, that even when he's saying that, I was like, I mean, I guess, but Kane to me still fit that more. Like,
Oh yeah.
like again, he wore the mask, you know, his hair kind of, if he covered his face a bit so you can't see really what's happening. And Undertaker was like, okay, but you're just a guy wearing like a coat. I don't think I'm gonna be necessarily, I'll probably be agitated, but I don't know if I'll be like, ooh, I'm scared, you know. But like when they was talking about the children, for instance, I guess when he was talking about the eye roll, that the signature eye roll before he does the choke slam, he does the whole like, I mean, I can't do that. And so power to you for figuring, like, it was like he said it was his worst match. And so I feel like I know what match this is because there was a match, and you know, he did say in previous interviews that when he didn't like a person or he thought the match was going to be terrible, his entrance was extra long. Like he extended an already long entrance. So he like, yeah, he was petty. And so when he felt like he didn't really like a wrestler, he would legit walk even slower than normal to be petty. And so clearly these are one of those matches where he was like, oh. And so when he said it was one of my terrible matches, and that it was like an eye roll and it got caught up back there, I did laugh. I do roll my eyes quite often. And so I do like to roll my eyes when people do shenanigans. And so
do it.
I was like,
talent. That's a real talent right there.
Yeah, well, to roll it that far back, you clearly rolled it because like I said, I roll my eyes quite often. You know, I guess I walked right into that, right? Walked right into that. But yeah, with I can roll my eyes, but I can't get it back there like that. And so clearly he must have been really agitated at that match that people was like, bro, what you did? And he was just like, well, I was annoyed. And then it worked. And then it wanted to become his signature thing. Like, oh, it's about to end soon. He's going to do whatever he does, and it's going to be over. And so I thought that was an interesting thing, that it was literally like an eye roll. Because I'm like, that's relatable to an extent. I roll my eyes all the time when people do nonsense, and I'm just like, you know, eye roll. I do that quite often. So I understood. I was like, all right, Mark, I'm here. I see you. I understand that level of why you might have been agitated with some of the wrestlers you had to face back in that time when wrestling was, you know, some people got off of whatever, like, because they were big and not because they were talented. But that's a rant for another day. So then they start, I guess, talking about the whole thing with like Paul Bearer, which God rest Paul Bearer's soul. He was he was such a enhancement for wrestling, as far as like being that ultimate person to get you kind of hyped up in the storyline of what's happening.
Yeah,
he was that person that definitely kind of had you like, Well, if you wasn't interested, he'll probably make you interested. He was so
Yeah.
like over the top with like when he said things. Uh and when he like the way he delivered the lines was like great. So the
Stop it.
You're not the first person I heard say that though. I actually heard people tell me they thought Whistleblower was scary, but again, I'm a weird person, and horror things do not make me scared. And so I don't know if that just means I'm a weird like. None of the things that was meant to scare people actually scared me. I was just like, I guess if this is supposed to be scary, I'm not scared of this. But I do watch horror like all the time, you know, like background noise all the time.
You
Like it's like
know, do you know who The Undertaker reminds me of? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Bones with Snoop Dogg. He definitely
I
gives me
did.
give me bones.
Oh, I
Bones.
remember that movie. Oh my god.
I was scared of Snoop Dogg for a little bit. I know it sounds crazy, but I was genuinely scared of Snoop Dogg for a long period of time because of that movie. Like that movie scared the absolute crap out of me.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for popping in. Um, yeah, listen. See that that's so mean. I mean,
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna say it because I'm gonna be nice today, but yeah, I wasn't afraid of like any of those that's supposed to be scary gimmicks. Like when they showed the little white kid like in the audience when they kept zooming in on his face and he was like petrified, and I'm just like, dude, I would have been a kid like, man, grow up. Even though we're both kids, I'd be like, grow up. What are we doing here? Like, why are you scared? So I don't know. I feel like if this was supposed to be scary, I wasn't a kid that was afraid of this stuff. So I don't know. But I did like them when in Hanson, like Paul Bearer talking about like, you know, he was first with Undertaker and then we start hearing the thing about Kane. And so again, I feel like Kane's like a first appearance was one of my favorite like debuts with regards to a character. I felt like um the whole way it was like, oh, he had this brother that was like burned alive. And you're like, wait a minute, like, even if you know, like, as a kid, you're not really questioning too much, like, did he really burn his brother alive? Like, is he not in jail? Because I definitely remember asking my mom that, like, why is he not in jail then? If he's burning people, he burning people alive, like he get to wrestle. And so as a little kid, you do question, like, wait a minute, this don't make sense. This is like how you burning people up and you just kind of hear wrestling all regular. Like you just don't. There's no GL time for this. There's nobody
Right.
booked. And so I did question that, but I did like that whole premise of like, oh, he had this brother, and like if you burn your little brother, I'm gonna be quite sure you're not gonna have a good relationship with your brother. That's like you trying to kill your brother. There's not gonna be like a kumbaya moment. And so to have that, you know, backstory, and then you see Paul Bearer kind of, and then JR, which I thought was one of the best parts of that debut, is the way he like announced like, oh, it's got to be Kane, and it was so like extra. One of my top 10 debuts of a wrestler. And so again, he didn't have to say anything. I'm like, sometimes you actually need people who can be good on the mic. But for the character like Kane's character, it's like, do you really need to say anything? Like just go in there, kick some ass, and dip. So
Right.
you know, I mean, I have, but I have top five. Shawn Michaels is one. Jeff Hardy's two. I feel like The Rock will be three. Okada will be four. And I like Hayabusa, five for me.
Oh, okay. Oh god. Okay. So I would say Shawn Michaels number one for sure. I love Shawn Michaels. All time it's Macho Man. I love Macho Man. I don't care what a spirit says. I love that man. Um, you see, I say of all time. I know this is gonna be way out of here, but Alex Shelley, I will always say he will always be my top five. I love that man. I think he's one of the best wrestlers ever. Um, Kurt Angle. And then I would say I can't think of anything. So, bitch, guess what? It's Finn Balor.
I actually surprised you didn't see him sooner. I know where you are about your
more
Finn.
like when I think of that, I'm thinking more of like in ring and Finn. Oh, Finn is great in ring. Not saying he's bad, but like compared to the other four people I said, I was just feeling their in ring way more.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels is the reason why I'm a wrestling fan. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, listen, he was so cocky and so like you're just like, well, I want to see more of you. And then it didn't help that he was like really attractive, and then he was a playgirl. I'm like, I was a kid, so I didn't really understand. But as an adult, I'm like, listen, if I was an adult, I would have had that magazine, no questions, no questions.
Oh
Would have
my
been like,
god.
would have been framed. Just saying. So, yeah, those are my favorite. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, bringing us back on topic. Yes, Kane had a really interesting backstory, and he didn't have to say a word. Great backstory. You had a perfect manager in Paul Bearer, and then you had like the announcement team, just the commentary team, just getting this there. That even when it got to Undertaker's face of the debut, he was like, it seemed genuinely shocked. As a kid, you're like, oh, okay, like this might be some situation. You just burned your bread, and then he about to kick your ass, And then I really believe his face was really burned because he's wearing a mask. And again, you're a kid, you don't know any better, and so you're like, oh my god, like you did this to your own brother, like maybe you deserve to get beat up, Undertaker. Like maybe this is what you get, okay, for this is what you deserve for doing shenanigans, like how you burning people up and just want to be wrestling. And so exactly, and he would just cock his head to the side, and didn't do anything. And I respected that so much as a kind of creepy. Like even if you're not afraid of it, it's like anybody looking at you cocking their head to the side, they usually crazy, and so you don't want to like chance messing with somebody who comes off like he might be a little bit messed up. So I thought the story, as far as I felt like that was a highlight for me in the documentary, was when Kane made his debut, and then I guess showing like the battle between them before they teamed up. So they talk about that match, the one that has the flame. What the hell was it called? I'm saying
Inferno.
it. Yes, one of my favorite matches actually.
Here's me, and it singes my eyebrows.
Yeah, and then they were saying it was dangerous, and I'm like, well, yeah, it was dangerous. This probably shouldn't have happened, WWE, but back then they were testing the bounds, with what they were doing. So that's actually one of my favorite matches, as Kane wise, because I thought it was cool. I thought it was different. Like you have a match with like flames around it. Like personally, I don't like fire, so gonna be me. That might have me like get fired because I'm like, you want me to do what, Vince?
Right.
We don't want those kind of problems. So I feel like me and Vince would have probably had to fight if that was me. So I don't think I could have been like, okay, bro, you got it. I'm doing this match. I definitely would have gave up on that one. But that's one of my favorite matches. And then you see them, I guess, working towards them starting to team up. So what were your thoughts, I guess, about the Inferno match? And then when they start saying we're about to get the Brothers of Destruction.
Yes, I agree. No, I don't think people sleep on Malachi. I think everyone loves him. Well, I really like.
I mean, I do. I love him. He's
I really do like Malachi. He's always been one of my favorites. I think once he gets his storyline completely going, definitely he's one of the best. I definitely like him. I think he's an amazing wrestler. But in terms of the match, yeah, I didn't like that match. Like, I feel like that was a match do one time and never bring it up again because my God, that's so dangerous. So dangerous. I don't like it. I don't like anything that has to do with Kane and fire. I don't want to be around it. I went to one live event and I sat way too close. And man, almost singed my damn eyebrows. I can't. I can't deal with Kane and fire. And I just want to say, Paul Bearer is such a great storyteller. Sometimes, like, just one of the best. Like, he really took Undertaker's character and like the whole story and brought it way up to like another level. He really did. Like, so good.
Yeah, he was definitely one of like the great managers like of wrestling. Even the way his voice was and the way he would like do facial expressions, really, really, really like hyped up like a segment, or you're like kind of really invested in it. And so I'm gonna have to agree. I was at AW yesterday, and I felt like I was close enough that I felt like when they did the fire thing, I felt the heat, and I'm like, how am I feeling it from the section? Like how am I feeling it from where I was sitting? was a little weird. So I don't know. I don't think I can have been in a match where it's that close, with the fire itself.
Especially with a match. So I'm thinking like, if I'm feeling it from the front row, I know that you're feeling it and you're in the ring. Like, now I'm like, why would anyone even agree to this? Why would you agree to this? Absolutely not.
Like I said, I would have got fired right then. Vince, not Katrina. I'm sorry. You want to do what? I'm not going to be sitting there next minute you see me, like I said, Mike Jackson. I'm going to be like hair singed, because that would happen to me. I feel like I would have got my hair would have messed up. It would got caught. Something would have got caught in fire, and that would have been it. So not me. I would have got fired. I couldn't have done that. But y'all know lots of this again. I love Mike Jackson, but y'all not. If y'all seen that clip when it first happened, y'all knew he was. it was a problem. That would have been me. Okay, so no, absolutely not. Would have my hair, my coconut oil in my hair, make sure it's moisturized, and I would have got would have set right on fire, and then would have been over, and then y'all would not see me how I am right now. So
I'm
couldn't be me.
I can't.
I'm just saying, couldn't be me. But yeah, I felt like it again, one of my favorite Kane matches, because I thought it was different. I thought it was a different type of thing to do. But then you see Kane like, come here, we're gonna be together in regards to the Brothers of Destruction, and then we start off that whole like, okay, we got one of like the toughest tag teams, I guess. You had two big dudes. Like, I don't remember how tall Kane is. I just know he's tall as shit. So isn't he like 7 feet or something?
Is he? I don't know. I know he's pretty close. I don't know if he's exactly that though.
Because I know Kane is like super tall.
I don't know what anyone's size is for real. What is anyone's size? They're all wearing lifts, aren't they?
I mean, I don't know. I know he's like super. I think Undertaker's kind of tall too. So like, you got two big dudes. Undertaker, who's like WrestleMania before the Streak got defeated. Streak alive. He's having all types of crazy matches. He's flipping Mankind off of like cages, beating up Shawn Michaels. So you got somebody like this, and then you have Kane, the guy who was burned alive, apparently. So you got that going in. It's like, how do you get a tag team where it's like this much going with both of them? So I did like appreciate, I guess, that regards. I do feel like they should have focused more as far as, because I feel like why they was the Brothers of Destruction, were they really heel? I didn't feel like as a kid I hated heels. Like I hated heel wrestlers. I was always ready to fight. Like my little self was like, why are you doing this to my favorite person? Like, what do you? And I'm arguing with TV like they can hear me from New York, complaining that y'all messing up my peoples. But with Kane and Undertaker, I was like, anytime they had to fight somebody, I was like, yes! Like, and then when they did the double choke slam, I was ready. I was like, yeah, this is what they deserve. You choke slam them all. Choke slam everybody.
You know what? The only time, if I could say this right now, and I don't know if anyone agrees, the only time the Brothers of Destruction were the most heel was in them goddamn WWE games, because they were given the most absurd, like, they would like overpower them. I used to be so mad playing the game. I do one move, they get back up like this. Do another move, they get back up again. That was the time when I really was like, I hate these bitches. That's the only time when I really hated them. Whenever I was playing that damn game, and they asked us to rise 17 times after you done all your damn finishers. Yeah, that's it. But it wasn't a damn tag team. It was not.
I think I had that issue with the game too, honestly. And then you used to get upset because you're like, or when they did it, and then your lifeline will go real low, and you're like, wait a minute, it was one choke slam. Like, this is how are we here already? Like, we're like 2 minutes in the match. How are we already here? It used to get tight. I can't even say, because I used to get upset about that too. I really did. Because I'm like, come on. Or you think like you got time to like pin somebody, like, oh, I can pin, and they're like, no, surprise. You're like, wait a minute, I just did all this. I'm about to say, I'm just feeling like PTSD right now because
no, seriously, like, it was so sick. I'm like, what? Did you put them on unbeatable mode? I used to get mad. Do you know when you used to play when I used to play Royal, like I used to do Royal Rumble, and then the minute that they would come in, I'm tight. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to throw myself over the rope. I like in this game, like, find a way to get somebody to get me over. Like, I'm done.
Thank you so much for the facts. I knew this. See, 6'10", 7 feet. I was right about. Yeah, that's like. Listen, I'm 5'2", so just letting y'all understand how little I am to them. Like, it's not even funny. Okay, I stopped 7th grade. It was like, Katrina, no height for you, and I was like, I guess this is the life we gotta have. This is, you know, thank you. Appreciate you so much again for hopping on and watching us. We appreciate you. Listen, this didn't work. I've done this. Okay, you try to have all your finish. You know, had the little things that you knew that was your finisher. You could use your finisher, and then you like, yes, this is gonna be it. And it was like, no, bitch, it's not. Hurting children's feelings, just hurting all the kids' feelings. Because my feelings was hurt. I was hurt. They used to get me tight. They did. They did. And Triple H, that damn sledgehammer. PTSD, like I said, whole bunch of PTSD, just PTSD with those shenanigans. That game used to piss me off. Now I'm thinking about it, like I could go to her rep, but I won't. But yeah, so I loved them together. I actually think that was like my grandmother had her people that she liked. She loved them together. Like my grandmother was really weird with her choice of wrestlers. Like she did like Macho Man. She loved his promos. She liked that he just be like, you know, the way he would talk. She loved that, and that's what made me start watching with her. And then I had to tell people the RVD thing was literally because he wore a singlet and it was like tight around the butt cheeks area. And so because of that, she loved him. Like, she couldn't tell her nothing about RVD. She was like, look at him. Listen, my grandma, that ass was like, oh, he about to do the rolling. She do his little roll because she never got him to move right. She about to do his little rolly thing. And when he did that rolling thunder move and they got close, the camera would like zoom right there. She was happy. So she loved him for whatever.
I get that singlet love. I really do. Because right now, that got me in a chokehold right now. That got me in a chokehold right now with Braun Breaker. I'm telling you, that singlet will really have you in a chokehold.
Yes, it was that singlet. It's like, because like if she felt like it like made it extra around that area, she was like, it's just right there. And I'm like grandma, come on, like, ew, I would know all that, but that's where she was. So for them, it was just because they were like big imposing guys, and she thought that was cool. So when it was like the Brothers of Destruction was like ever on, her and my mom for that matter was always like hype about that, just ready to watch them. So I guess in that regard, like I appreciate them as a tag team. I thought they worked good together, even though they bamboozled all of us when they said they were brothers. Because I was arguing people. You know, I'd like to tell people now, don't be arguing and being loud and wrong. Well, I was loud and wrong. In junior high, loud, absolutely loud and wrong. Arguing junior high, people at junior high, like, but they are brothers. Don't you see what he did? Did you see what he did to his brother? I was fighting for my life in junior high, arguing, and I was totally wrong. So it had me looking crazy. Thank God social media wasn't really a thing back then, because I would have been hurt. Like if they would have been like, oh, look, this girl being wrong, and I would have been somebody's memes of being, you know, I would have been somebody's video clip.
Wrestling, like, it's crazy how they really had us believing stuff like so much. Oh my God, I can't tell you how stupid I used to feel now that I look back at it when people ask me about like Stephanie and Triple H, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, they cute together. I mean, I don't like how they started their relationship, like how they got married. It was very slimy, but you know, they cute. Like I really used to be like, you seen they got married at a drive-through, right? It's real, like, so like they married at a drive-through.
Yeah, I used to argue hard about it because I was like, but they are brothers. You know what? And Christian and Edge too. Christian and they are like, and obviously the Hardys are brothers. The only person I was not buying was the Dudleys, because you're not gonna tell me the Dudleys are brothers when you got one black guy. Like I don't care how we're not pulling that off.
No, even I really did believe.
I did not. I was like, who's the mama? Where's the black mom? Let me see her. Let me see her skin. Let me see. Okay.
I really thought that Bubba was like, what do you call it? Like he was like an albino. Like I'm not playing. Like I'm so sorry. Like I really thought they was brothers.
He was like light skin black.
I really did. No, when Spike came into it, I'm like, that he must be adopted, and I still went with. I still believed it. Like what was going on with me? Literally, I'm so sick. I'm so.
I know with him too. I'm like, come on. That was the only team I legit did not buy that. But Christian and Edge, I would argue. Like, what do you mean they're brothers? They're best friends. They're brothers. They're together arguing. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. WWE had me looking crazy in junior high school. Crazy. Because I was defending hard. Like, what do you mean? And then all the get as an adult, I'm like, oh no, they're just really close friends. Like, what? Y'all just pretending to have family members and stuff. Like, we just do that.
I'm crying. This. Got this.
Listen, it took me a minute to accept that they weren't brothers. It took me a minute. I was definitely in my adulthood when I was like, I guess I have to accept that we were all. Listen, embarrassment. Let's be glad social media wasn't the way it is now, when people, one little moment, they ready to record and post, because I would have been looking quite foolish, because I was arguing every day. I was like, what do you mean? At lunch, in the lunchroom, complaining like, did you see this yesterday about their brothers? No, they ain't brothers. Do you not hear the story? Did you not know he committed a crime? Like, listen, arguing hard. So, arguing super hard, looking super crazy. So Vince had me looking crazy for years. Had me looking crazy.
Mine's a really fucking embarrassing long time. I'm sorry, I just cursed. Oh my god. Even like when Carlito, when they did the whole thing when they stabbed John Cena, like I still was like, why isn't this man in jail? He just stabbed someone. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I really believed it. I was like, they just stabbing people? Like, where are the authorities? Like,
it makes me think of that clip where Randy Orton beat up John Cena's dad. And I remember, like, so you just coming to people's houses and beating up people's parents and nobody see it? This was one of the times I was like really mad at Randy Orton, because I'm like, bro, why you coming to beat up John Cena? Even though that really wasn't John Cena's real dad at that segment. I was mad. I was so mad for John. I was like, you just beat his dad up at his house? In his house? I was so upset. I was so upset. So yes, Vince had us looking real crazy online, defending that Kane and that Glenn and Mark were brothers. That Glenn and Mark were brothers, and we were all wrong. Hey, Charmaine, what's up? Okay, listen, they were doing a lot of shenanigans back then, okay? And we was just eating it all up ridiculously, looking foolish. We was eating like, ooh, y'all didn't. And then when the cops, I'm like, so you're not going to arrest people? People get hit by cars? The whole Stone Cold thing? When he was hit by the car, I'm like, that is like vehicle, like that is a purpose, like car, like you try to hurt this person, and y'all just gonna come back on the next day. Y'all just on the so you didn't just do a hit and run. Nobody else mad like I'm mad.
Nobody made me look dumber than Vince. I'm telling you, no man.
He definitely did. Yes, see,
no man has ever played me as much as Vince has.
He definitely has. At least with this segment, because I know when we watched Dark Side of the Ring with Brian Pillman, you know, one of my sadness. He was a little crazy anyway, and so it pulled off like you, somebody who's willing to do whatever for a story. Yeah. That I guess it worked. But I feel like, you know, I really wasn't like hard about wrestling until like towards that period when I was like obsessing over the Hardys and like Shawn Michaels and stuff. So
yeah,
but they had us looking super crazy, and having us looking a hot mess. But with that, with that being said, it did give us a really super awesome tag team. Even if they really wasn't brothers, and that whole burning your brother alive. Like, that's like a whole ID channel story right there. Like, oh, the little brother was burned by his older brother. Let's give you the background history, and then you get the long thing about how the parents didn't know the kid was a little crazy. Yeah, that was all those type of ID channel type of
literally
stories. But listen, they had us looking up.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
The only time I wasn't was when the whole Triple H thing, when people, I was like, okay, he's the same person, because I had to argue with somebody it was two different people when he was Hunter Hearst, and I'm like, y'all do know all it did was take it made 3 initials, right? It's just 3 H's. It's 3 H's. And so I was, in this regard, I was right, because it was just a play off of the Hunter Hearst Hemsley name. And so I was like, clearly, if he has HHH, Triple H ain't that far of a stretch. But everything else, I was totally wrong. Okay, Vince, like, if I ever tell him, I'm like, let's hear Vince. Vincent
like that.
Had me looking real. Vincent had me looking crazy. But I did like, again, there wasn't much about Kane, and I guess that was unfortunate. I would have rather more backstory, because we know Kane was also a different gimmick before he was Kane, and so it would have been nice to get some more like backstory, I guess, before we got to the brothers. And they didn't really. I did feel like Kane was the guest star in this episode, even though it was supposed to be about both of them together. I definitely did feel that, he was a guest star. It's like, yeah, we're kind of talking about him, but you see the Undertaker telling all these stories and everything, and then you see the thing with Mick Foley, and all there's a lot of Undertaker matches. And then you had like Kane, and you're like, so we're gonna ignore Kane. Kane did his thing, he wasn't as appreciated, and being one of the why he is personally doing some shenanigans. He's governor, or mayor. He's mayor, right? Doing shenanigans. As far as his Kane gimmick, he was a safe worker. Nobody got hurt when he wrestled with them, and that's a good thing. And I thought he was imposing. I feel like when people start talking too much, when they start getting beat up. That was also my grandma's rule too. If she liked the wrestler, they start talking, she started getting upset because she's like, when y'all start talking all this crap, y'all get beat up. And now I gotta see you get beat up because you do all this yin yang instead of just get out there, kick some ass. She hated when wrestlers started talking a little too much. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? You kind of right though. Like when it's always those imposing characters that's kind of quiet and they start talking, all of a sudden
it irritates me because I'm like,
all of a sudden, now they get ass kicked, and you're like, bro, all you had to be quiet, just be imposing.
Yep, you got me excited. I'm like, yo, he about to do work.
Then you get beat up, and you're like, once again, got me looking crazy right now. Like, do your job. But yeah, I did think that was a cool. That's probably one of my favorite tag teams from that era in regards to just like really imposing. Like the Hardys being real brothers, they were just like over the top, and Jeff did all that crazy shit, and I like that. But as far as like just pure imposing, definitely definitely liked that for them with regards to yeah, I like that. I think it worked so well with their gimmicks. Again, both of them are now questionable in their personal lives. They've then done and said some very questionable things, Glenn and Mark. But as far as Undertaker and Kane, as far as what they are for wrestling, like I said, I'm not gonna say I'm a big Undertaker fan. That's pure lie. Because like I said, if I ever had to fight the Undertaker, he's getting beat up on the ramp. On the ramp. I am not waiting for you to walk down the ramp with your stupid hat and coat. And now I gotta wait for you to get in there and then take your hat off extra slow and then open the coat extra slow and then roll your eyes and then the leg come. I'm not doing all that. As soon as you it's about 20 seconds. You still okay? You know what? I'm just gonna have to beat you up on the ring. I'm just gonna have to meet you right there and kick your ass on the ring. I'm not waiting for all this. So right. I wasn't a big Undertaker fan because I hated that. And I didn't like that he beat up Shawn Michaels. And I was like,
he used to really beat him up too.
He did, and I was hurt. I was like, not my Shawn Michaels. So I wasn't a hard fan of
not Mr. HB.
I wasn't a fan, but I respect what he was for wrestling. I definitely respect what he did for like definitely one of the most thought out gimmicks where it's like years of this gimmick. Even when it became Biker Taker, we all knew that other Undertaker was still there somewhere. Like we knew it.
I loved Big Evil
so
though.
I actually met the Undertaker when I was 11. So he was a big guy, but I wasn't afraid of him or anything. It was like some trip I went to, and they did like a tour or MSG, and they was doing a Monday Night Raw, I believe. And so we were there. And so he happened to be walking by when we were, and so we met him. And that's how I knew for the first time my wrestling ring wasn't as big as I thought it was. Because I was like, we was able to get into the ring, and I'm like,
this is small.
This is small. Like, I thought it was a lot bigger than it was when you were watching on the TV. So that was so I met him, and I'm still standing by. If I was a wrestler, I'm kicking his ass on the ramp because I'm not waiting for you. You're not taking here, and now I gotta wait for you to do all this. I don't got time for that. So, I mean, he did have that really robotic voice when he used to talk, like something was wrong with his voice box.
So, oh my god! Don't even remind me about that.
It's kind of questionable. I can see how you might have thought that he definitely had that weird, creepy voice when he used to talk, like something was clearly wrote with vocal cords.
That was
all for him to come back, and you're like,
dumb.
The only thing I hated when Kane like did the shave of his head, and then the bald was bald up here, and then I was like, why I had to do this? Why we messed up the image? He wasn't to me scary. Well, not that he was scary, but he didn't give the same effect that he could have gave.
He killed my dreams.
He did.
Fabio under that mask. I was so mad. I thought he looked like Fabio. I was livid.
And Fabio do have the luscious.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, this is definitely Fabio. I was excited, and
Yeah. It took a lot of the appeal until he was unmasked, and I was just like, oh. And then he started wearing the mask with the wig attached, and I'm like,
why?
really, Glenn, that's what we're doing? I
A
guess.
mess.
But otherwise, I guess, because I think we felt like we covered everything. It was mostly just
Yeah.
all the Undertaker and a bit. So I guess what are your like final thoughts of like the episode?
Legendary team. It was a nice story to hear. It wasn't. I feel like again they lost the plot. I feel like this is about talking about people kind of tapping into that evil in like a heel way, not like fake evil of a story. You know,
Yeah.
no. They should have. What they need to do is give the Undertaker his own episode for as Big Evil, and give Kane his own. And you know what? And I really want to see Kane's episode. We need a solo Kane episode so he can explain some of the stuff he was doing, because he did some sick stuff. You know what he did to Shane's balls. I want him to sit there in that chair and explain the stuff that he did.
He definitely Kane was definitely wild. He was. That's why I like. But yeah, I hate it when he was unmasked. I hate it. I hated it so much. I was like, why would you ruin him? The whole mystique was that you couldn't see what he looked like. Then he looked. I was just like, oh, I mean, I guess like maybe the creepy guy who like cleaned the schools when kids were going home, and it's like that creepy janitor, and they just didn't look at the children, and you're like, why are you being creepy? That's the vibe. That's the vibes I got from King once he was unmasked. I was like, you're just like a creepy. He
Charges boundaries. And I don't want to see the story about pre-mask Kane. I want post-mask Kane, because that man was out of his goddamn mind.
He was. He really was. He was wild. He really was. So I would. They should have done that. They should have introduced us as the brother, and then talk about the solo heel, because but Kane was probably at least over. I feel like Kane was even more over the top than Undertaker was, honestly. I felt like he was more extra. Like it's like, oh my god, you're doing this. I think he was more extra what they would had his storylines doing, honestly. I mean, it wasn't a terrible episode. I just thought they should have focused more on. I felt like most of the episodes we've seen so far has been them turning up the heel gimmick to make them like kind of like irritated with them. Like, okay, I can see how this will fall. Like you mess with somebody's kids, or you're like go after somebody's wife or something, or you beat up somebody's dad. Like that stuff is like heel stuff, and so they should have. Maybe we'll get that episodes with they said they want to do more episodes, and so hopefully, we get that. That is one of my favorite wrestling theme songs. I love that song. It's a whole bop. It really is. One of my absolute favorite wrestling songs is Slow Chemical. I love that song.
Like his element. Like he was really in his bad bitch era with that theme.
That band. Listen, they did that.
Let it play. Like I don't even care if he in the ring and settled. Let the song play. I don't want to hear it.
It was a good song. That was one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite songs. But I guess that is it for this episode. It was. I feel like we made this a lot more fun.
Literally than what the damn episode
was. Because we were just like before this, like, I mean, they didn't really do it, but I guess they didn't really give us what we was waiting for. But it was a good episode. We will not be here next week because sometimes people got things to do. And so we will be back in 2 weeks for the next episode 5, which would be good old Randy Orton. And as I told you guys, Randy used to piss me off as a kid. He really irked me. Like he was always doing some shenanigans. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing? Like, why you keep fucking with me? Like the John Cena, I'm like, I will forever be upset about that. Like beat up John Cena's dad. I was like, how dare you beat up somebody's dad? How dare you? Like he Randy Orton.
That episode's gonna be long. I really do feel that way.
Randy Orton used to piss me off. So it's gonna be a fun episode. Even though I did watch it when we watch it just to be more fresh on it. But definitely can't wait for that. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, so I have a Twitch that I am always streaming on, mostly playing Dead by Daylight. It's Shay Sawyers. That's it. Just Shay Sawyers. SAWYERS. Girl, I was struggling for a little minute. And just catch me there. And Tuesdays on Unpopular Review, I also do the review for NXT because I love NXT. So that's where you can catch me. Definitely check out. What is his thumb? That was awkward.
Oh, I mean, I like John Cena. I like Roman Reigns because that's one of the base. But I'm from Shawn Michaels. I was watching when Shawn Michaels was, being super disrespectful. That was when I was watching. That's what got me hooked. I was like, oh, he's fine. Okay, you watch a little bit, and then Jeff Hardy started flipping, and I was like, you know what? It's fine. Like, it's fine if I obsess and like cry that I needed everything that he ever did. It was bad. It was a bad obsession. Listen, Edge used to piss me. Listen, I told people Edge and Randy Orton used to irk my soul so bad. And then Edge would have that stupid ass smile on his face when he was doing shenanigans. I'm like, and you smiling? I used to be upset. Listen, that's a whole. That's horrible.
And he will also look around.
Me off as a kid. They kept messing with the Hardys. They was messing with John Cena. I was like, leave my guys alone. And so, yeah, Edge. Ooh, Edge. And he was with that dumbass face. And I'm like, why are you smiling? Why are you hurting people? Like, I was bad. So, I was devastated. But you guys can find me on pretty much everywhere: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. In Cat We Trust. The E is a 3 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm also on Women's Wrestling Talk, and if in like 15 minutes or so, I will be actually talking about NXT and NXT UK on Twitch, Women's Wrestling Talk. So catch me there. And if you are in the New York, New Jersey area, I do backstage interviews at shows. I actually have a very busy weekend. Next weekend, I will be in Jersey doing some interviews with some awesome people. So that's where you guys can catch me. Want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us. You guys really was helping with comments and keeping us laughing and made my rants, happen because y'all comment. Once some rants again, not on kids this time, not on the children. It's not this time, it wasn't the children, but I didn't go to rant. And so we appreciate you guys always popping in and hanging out with us. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for Randy Orton. And until next time, guys, later.